So overstaffing is actually a pretty big problem in our industry. We tend to overstaff our businesses. We tend to feel like it needs more people, that any project or a given period of time needs more people than it actually does. And this is almost as big a problem as understaffing. But understaffing in our industry has a failsafe. If we're understaffed, we can bring in temporary people. We can outsource. We can do overhires. We can supplement up temporarily and then go back to our normal level. But overstaffing, boy, that's a tough one to fix. And here's the simple fact: the more people you have, the more work it always takes. So it's really hard to cut your head count. Let's talk about that today. Welcome to your weekly dose of uncommon sense, helpful insights, and tough love. The Intentional Success Podcast comes to you through the generous support of Merch Crew. For 25 years, Merch Crew has protected growing live event companies by removing risk and streamlining paperwork so they can scale faster. Crew confidently with trusted freelancers by starting today at merchcrew.com. So there's three mistakes that we all make, and I've done it myself, and we do it many times in our career because our business is very cyclical. We have good years and bad years. We have busy months. We have slow months. We have changes in trends. We have changes in customer needs and expectations. Our margins fluctuate. Therefore, we're constantly looking at things, but we need a constant, and the constant that we often try and salvage out of all this is the number of people it takes to do the work. We're going to be busy in May. I need all of these people. That's the very common phrase. May is going to come up again because it's a common month for everybody to get kind of freaked out. So what are the three cell phones that lead us to the situation where we look at the staffing of our businesses incorrectly, when we start to glaze over and believe our own rhetoric or the team's rhetoric about how many people it takes to get the work done? And oh my goodness, how busy we are and we need more people. The first one, of course, is that your pricing is relevant. Very few companies objectively check their pricing. They just assume that, pricing is what it is. It's worked before. The client didn't push back on that, so it must be okay. The client did push back on this. It must be too high. And so we self-correct our pricing through subtle, often not distinct signs that come from our customers or the marketplace, or worse, from our team. Most of our pricing failures really are team driven because it's the team's perception of value. We can't charge for that. Or why should we charge more for that? Nothing's changed. Our prices haven't gone, or our costs haven't gone up to own a video projector. Why should we charge more for the video projector? And it's getting people to understand that pricing is not just a binary system of either the customer pays for it or the customer doesn't pay for it. Pricing is how you pull everything together, and you're doing complex services, and therefore you have complex prices and complex margins. So what is the value of something that's extremely complex and delicate on top of a job that's very simple and straightforward? Well, the value of that complex thing is much, much higher. But sometimes we feel like we can't charge more for it because we're trying to match the pricing philosophy of whatever the baseline equipment is. So our pricing philosophies are often suspect in what we do. And if we don't pay attention to it, if we believe our pricing is relevant, we're going to make some pretty serious mistakes. And the biggest mistake we're going to make is we're going to overstaff. Another thing that mistake or cell phone that we make in our small businesses is that word of mouth actually works. That word of mouth is a marketing plan. And while whenever I do ask people what their marketing plan says, we don't have one, we rely on word of mouth. They're not saying that word of mouth is their marketing plan. They are being realistic about that. But what they're not saying is the honest truth is that, well, it's just dumb luck. Sometimes the phone rings and we're busy. And that word of mouth gets reinforced in bad times because that one phone call saved the day. That one job you didn't expect got you through the month or helped you make payroll. And therefore, we start to rely on that surprise hit of dopamine, that manna fell from the heaven and some job magically appeared. And that's always worked for us. Therefore, word of mouth is good. Word of mouth is intentional. And this is a big, big, big cell phone. It leads to some very bad problems, not the least of which, of course, is going to be the overstaffing. Because if you expect work to magically appear, then you rely upon yourself to magically have all the resources available to do it at a moment's notice. And then the third thing that we all tend to do is we believe that everybody is working hard, therefore we must be busy. Everybody's so busy. Everybody's working so hard. We're doing such good work. Our jobs are great. We don't have the bandwidth to do more work. And if doing more work means finding new customers, elevating the job, charging more for it, it just seems very, very risky and untenable to want to do that. So this perception that everybody's working hard, never considering the fact that they're all trying to save their jobs because they know if the company's slow, somebody's got to get let go, and it's not going to be me. Look how hard I'm pushing this roadblocks, right? So everybody's working hard, and then the axiom that comes from that is, oh, we are so busy in that 2 weeks in May, we can't make any changes right now, so we are fine. We don't need to fix our marketing. Our pricing will be just fine. Obviously, we're very busy. Our headcount's perfect because everybody's tied up in those 2 weeks in May, and life is good. So these cell phones, these get constantly repeated in our businesses, and it leads to very fixable problems. Number one, pricing. So price is cost plus value. I mean, it's everything has a cost to it. Sometimes the cost is very low. Sometimes the cost is extremely relevant, and you add margin to it. How much margin do you add? It's the amount of value you can extract from the customer. It's not the amount of value that you think the thing is worth, because that would be really self-defeating and upside down. All that really matters is what is it worth to the customer. It can be worth millions to you, and if the customer doesn't care, nobody's going to buy it. It can be worth very little to you, but if it's extremely valuable to the customer, we're leaving money on the table. And we're also not listening for the other clues about where we can increase value for that customer. Because for many buyers, it's not how much you paid, it's how much you feel you got for it. Did I get everything I wanted? Then the price was fine. If I didn't get what I want, I always overpaid. So we tend to try and undercharge people, hoping that they won't notice that they didn't get what they want. So pricing becomes very important. When we raise our prices, we have to trust ourselves to rise up to that occasion and be worth it. And that's something many of us don't like to do. We're self-effacing, we're humble, we're modest. We have imposter syndrome. Nobody will pay me that much money. Therefore, we tend to not look closely at our pricing. So pricing is cost plus value. It is strategic. It is very, very important. And if two customers are getting the exact same thing, it doesn't mean their price needs to be exactly the same, because no two customers value things the same way. And that's a very hard adjustment to make for businesses that are used to looking at things as black and white, right? This is the rental rate. This is the discount. This is what the job is worth. And not seeing that there are more dynamics in there and more human preferences and foibles wrapped up into this weird concept of value. So not looking at value is a big problem. Number two, this word of mouth thing. This word of mouth is absolutely accidental. We all know this in our heart of hearts, that we are accidentally successful, and that it's very coincidental that, oh, we started some marketing and all of a sudden we got new customers. So that just seems to be a coincidence, because we've always just gotten new customers. And can it be tied back to marketing? Now, the difficulty is if word of mouth has always worked, why would you do something different? And how do you know when word of mouth is not working? Well, that would force you to objectively look at your numbers. Okay, you're looking for trends, you're looking for lead times, you're looking for margins, you're looking for close rates. These are giving you clues about how you need to adjust yourself in the marketplace. And it could just mean that you need to lower your prices to be competitive, or it might mean that you need to increase your value, your perceived effort, the quality of your solutions in order to earn more money for the same amount of work. And then the last thing is this whole idea of working hard. Um, if marketing is intentional, I would probably argue that good marketing is intentional. That good work is not always working hard, as we say, it's working smarter. Right? It's better to work smarter than harder. So Parkinson's law. This is about being busy. Here is that work expands to fill the available time to completion. When somebody says we're really busy those 2 weeks in May, we can't do another thing, it's because they've already expanded all of the time that they think is available and all the work is filled up. How do we know that? How do we know weeks in advance that all the work is going to fill up? Can't we do some of that work in advance? But that's not how we think. Okay, we think like show people, and work is done in a finite period of time. It's difficult to set up a show in advance because you don't have access to the ballroom. Oh, but you know what? We could pack it better. We could stage it more efficiently. We could have a better choreographic load in so that we can reduce the amount of time and reduce mistakes. We could think further ahead and avoid errors. All of these things can happen, but no, instead, we rely on Parkinson's law that says it takes exactly as much time as you have available. This is why some companies, it requires 3 or 4 days for them to prep a large order rather than 3 or 4 hours. So our concept of time has to constantly be challenged. So when we self-own by saying, hey, we're already busy, we can't do any more, you're denying the one thing that humans are really, really good at, which is changing their own perception of time and working harder and working faster to get things done. Likewise, left unchecked, our perception of time will allow us to fill up the amount of time. If I'm working in the warehouse from 8 to 5, all the tasks I'm given at 8 a.m. are going to take me till 5 o'clock to complete. Should I give people more tasks? Maybe. Okay. Should I manage expectations? Absolutely. Okay. Should I find more ways to be efficient and value completion? Okay. Over how they got the work done. If somebody can do it in 5 minutes and somebody else needs 50 minutes, I'm going to look at that 5 minute way and see why that isn't better, because that sounds like an awesome solution to me. So we have these 3 cell phones. They perpetuate overstaffing that cause us to have more people on our team because we're waiting for the work to happen, right? And I can't replace these people because I need them. And here's the thing. If you really needed those people, you would need them today. You would be able to tell me what it is they're doing this week, not what they'll be doing 3 weeks from now. Because obviously you're busy in 3 weeks. Can you schedule more people to work that week? Can you add capacity to that week? Right? That's how it works, right? Work is an input. I can add more workers and get more output, okay, from it. If I know it's going to happen, why wouldn't I do that? That goes back to, well, we need to save money. Staff people are less expensive, we think, than freelancers. And I haven't checked my pricing lately. I don't know if my pricing is relevant, but what we charge doesn't allow us to hire freelancers to do all of this work. We have to do it ourselves. So again, once you start believing these 3 things, you start thinking the solution to everything is having people on staff all the time so that you can get the work done if it happens, and the job that day will look more profitable because you didn't have to hire anybody to do it. But what you're not looking at is how much the overstaffing cost you in the run up to and after the job was over. And that's how you're keeping your doors open, is by overspending. So take a look at your cell phones, stop the self-talk, change your self-talk into something more positive. You can do more work. You could always do one more job. Remember that phrase. Use it often. Oh my God, we're so busy that week. We can always do one more job. We can always do one more job. And guess what? When you put that job on those on your team, they will make the adjustments and they will make it happen. Now, you've got to change your mindset. Of course, they're working hard. They told you they're working hard. It doesn't mean that they are working smart. So they will work smarter when the work gets harder, and they will work to the same level of difficulty over time. More people can do more things, but that doesn't mean they will. Fewer people will actually get more work done because they're more creative about how they do it. They have more foresight. They use more of their intellect and less of their brawn, and it makes a huge difference. That's why companies with 6, 8, or 9 people can do millions and millions of dollars worth of work, when other companies, they need 20 or 30 people on staff to do the same amount of volume. It really has to do with mindset and that self-talk that keeps us from moving forward. So there you go. Look at the lies you're telling yourself. What can we do to fix them? Thanks for listening. If this episode of the Intentional Success Podcast has made an impact on your day, then please leave a review and don't forget to like and subscribe. This podcast has been brought to you by the helpful folks at Merch Crew.